Everyone,
He's gonna have to add somebody.
calling the meeting to order at 9:02. This will be the committee meeting of the RTA Organizational Services and Performance Monitoring Committee. I'm going to appoint our chair president, Reverend, to our committee today to establish a quorum. Roll call, please.
Okay. Mayor Biassiata.
Here.
Ms. Moss. Mayor Weiss, Ms. Welch.
Here.
And Reverend Lucas. We have 3 committee members present.
Thank you. Today, we're going to have 2 topics, our quarterly management report and our traction results reporting. We're going to start off with a review of our 4th quarter results, and Ms. Birdsong Terry will be the presenter.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Today, we got a skeleton crew, but you guys are a mighty one, so we appreciate it. Before I go in a little bit of detail about our quarterly management report for the 4th quarter of 2022, I wanted to take a moment to be able to explain the detail and work that goes into this document. We have a very robust Office of Management and Budget, and that is run by Kay Satula as their director under the purview of Raj Gotham as our Deputy General Manager for Finance. Raj is out today on vacation. Kay graciously agreed to serve in his stead, and behind you see the choir, so to speak, of the OMB group. So Reverend Lucas, please don't ask us to sing, but we will be able to discuss numbers. And we just wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity, as well as the public, to see the men and women that are behind this work product. So without further ado, and also up on the screen, just so you have it, that's an organizational chart for the Office of Management and Budget. They've done, I will say, a yeoman's job over the past quarter and really over the past year, as we have numbers that have been able to be unparalleled coming out of the pandemic. We still have not laid off anyone. We still have not encountered furloughs through this pandemic as we emerge from it. And that's no small feat, especially as we balance the budget between capital and operational. So we appreciate the work that they have done to keep us on the right side of the numbers. With that, I'd love to be able to invite Kay Satula, who's behind me, up to give a little bit of information about her team before I launch into the summary report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Terry. Good morning. My name is Kay Satula. I'm the Director of the Office of Management and Budget, and I would like to introduce my staff. The Office of Management and Budget manages programs such as Traction, National Transit Database Annual Submissions, the Capital Improvement Program. We also report on financial forecasts and projections, such as cost-benefit analysis, return on investments, and key performance indicators. So some of the things that you may have seen from us are the quarterly reports, the budget book, tax budget, operating, and capital budgets. So I'd like to introduce Carolyn Young. She's our manager of budgets. She's been here 11 years. Fun fact is she ran a 5K to help get OMB moving during the summers. Eric Vukmanik is our senior budget management analyst for capital. He's been here 8 years. Fun fact, he likes to travel. He's been over 15 cruises in 21 countries. Jonathan Ciesla is a budget management analyst for capital. He's in his 9th year at RTA. One of his favorite authors is Brené Brown, whose motto is courage over comfort. Wes Kashkaran is our senior budget management analyst for operating. He's in his 25th year at RTA, and he's learned how to make a French baguette. Tom Allen is our budget management analyst. He's in his 6th year at RTA. He's an avid board gamer and has a personal collection of 400 board games. Wendy Fine, she's been here 2 years at RTA. Her first experience in Cleveland was to take the rapid from the airport to Tower City, which convinced her to follow her fiancé to Cleveland. And Larry Farrell, he's our coordinator of financial systems and budgets. He's in his 17th year at RTA. Fun fact, he's a saxophone player. So, OMB team.
Thanks so much. We appreciate it. If you can tell that Kay used to be a former teacher. We appreciate you guys, and I will invite you all to stick around if you like, or either come on back so you can have, thank you, an opportunity to congregate with some of our board members before they leave. Thank you again. The team does a fantastic job. Just so you know as well, they are divided up amongst the divisions and departments, so that when we talk about some of these projects that come in front of you, they have intimate knowledge of them, whether it's a capital or operating expenditure. And might I say, if I can just add that Carolyn has a mighty hand when it comes to that process as far as telling people no. And I think that the team is definitely adept to be able to keep us on the right side of the number. So thank you again for your time and your work. So appreciate that. All right, so let's get into the fun stuff. I'll be as quick as I can. I know we have a few presentations. You'll see my face a few times today. We do have our quarterly management. You'll see this book at your table here, your dais, to be able to give you a hard copy. Wanted to be able to go through the highlights of it, and for your information as I'm reading, feel free to peruse pages 2 through 6. That gives you some of the high-level information regarding the operating capital and expenditures that we've got, especially in the areas of ridership, passenger sales, and passenger fares and sales tax for 2022. So our total revenues were 5.4% higher than budget. As you can see on the screen above, we were higher in all categories, including sales tax, passenger fares, and routine revenues, which put us on the right side, as I said, of the numbers for the end of the year. Operating expenses were lower than budget, and a lot of that was due to personnel expenses that also were about 3.3% lower than budget, and that's mainly due to healthcare and prescription cost reductions that we saw at the end of the year, so that's always a good thing. Transfers to other funds, we wanted to make sure that we kept you apprised of what we're doing to be able to balance the budget as far as transferring our funding here. You might have seen a document, or will see within the coming days, that will come to you. We always report out the transfers that we have so that you understand how we balance the budget and where the monies go at the end of the year and throughout the time. I think we have to report to you on a quarterly, if not semi-annual basis, so you'll see that as a catch-up over the last year. So this is a synopsis of that. So $10 million goes into the rolling stock reserve. As you know, we are trudging along to get to that $300 million plus number to be able to replace our rail cars. So we're excited about that, and we think it's important to be able to maintain that dependency on our own coffers to make sure that we can hit that number when the time comes to replace that fleet. $50 million in revenue stabilization, and then the 27th pay. That's always kind of an anomaly when you get into payouts for employees to be able to keep us on the right side of the budget. And then $44.7 million was transferred for the capital improvement funds, so we can keep up on that as well. This is a summary of the drawdowns. The ARP, or the ARP funding, was $81.2 million for 2022. Again, just a reminder that we had clean audits for the financial division, which is something that is not easily attainable. And that's, we were praised as an agency, again, under the leadership of the team that you saw, to be able to be reported out with no findings and a clean audit for drawdown. So that's always a great thing. We don't want to leave any money on the table. And so we make sure that we can apply those funds to projects and get those out of the way and out of the books on time. The available imbalance was a 1.9 month reserve, which is always great. It results in $42.6 million, which is in line with what we pledged to the board to make sure that we end the year on a good note, and we have reserves for the upcoming year for 2023, so we have achieved that. On the grant side, this is a listing of some of the regional partners that we've been working with to be able to receive a total of $46.1 million in year 2022. And this, again, is just a reminder to kind of encourage the communication that we have really been focused on for 2022 with the new mission of connecting the community. That not only speaks to our customers, but it also speaks to the relationships we have at the federal level and also with those disbursement organizations such as NOACA that you see listed among our partners here. It also allows us to be able to reinvest into our fleet, into our service and revenue vehicles that actually interface with our customers. A good example of that is the DERG, which is the last one here that you see, the Diesel Emission Reduction Grant, which allows us to be able to reinvest into our fleet. And that's a great example of that. A lot of our programs were not able to be achieved without these grants, so we appreciate our partners, and we appreciate the support of those local politicians that are able to say yes when we ask for support letters in application for these programs. Great job to the planning teams, engineering, grants management, operations, the entire division to be able to keep us on our toes. This is just a quick snapshot so you can see by bar chart of the fourth quarter expenditures and capital. As you can see, the federal assistance is off the charts, so to speak. And then you can see where we actually allocated those funds in the other areas of the business by year. And that actually concludes the on-screen portion. I just wanted to remind you as a whole that we were very busy in 2022 in quarter 4. And again, you'll see in pages 2 and 3, I won't reiterate it all, but it'll give you a little bit of a reminder of some of the major projects that we were able to achieve in the areas of microtransit, workforce development, community development, and also professional development programs such as COMTO, which is Conference of Minority Transportation Officials. We're big on acronyms in transportation, so there's a lot of those in there. And then also the Baby on Board, Cleveland Reads. You'll see the buses up and down the street. I saw a couple this morning coming in, which is always a nice thing because it's in good condition and it's very readable as far as our partners for the community side. And also our advertising campaigns throughout quarter 4, which were the month of Mary, if you remember that. It was a duplicate from 2021, and that was to be able to provide consistency from our marketing partners. That was a partnership campaign that was created by Brokaw under the leadership of Natoya Walker-Minor and Sharon Jenkins in our marketing division to make sure that we can become recognizable and people look forward to some of the holiday sort of advertisements and giveaways that we have to be able to get folks included in the festivities that we have here at RTA. So with that, that concludes my report. Unless there are any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer. Thank you. Well, I'm going to stay up here if that's okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Now we're going to have a presentation of our fourth quarter scorecards and our customer experience surveys.
Okay. All right. I've actually got a partner with me. I'm going to grab my book if you don't mind, and then we'll launch into the performance report. All right, we're rocking and rolling this morning, and we wanted to be able to bring to you our fourth quarter traction report. You heard me say traction earlier on, and there's a reason for that. This is actually a collaborative process that we have with TransPro, as you'll see on the bottom left of the slide in front of you. Aaron Bingaman is a managing principal with TransPro and has been assigned to our contract over the past 2 years plus. It's really important to understand Aaron's role in this as he will start to kind of evaluate us through this presentation for the fourth quarter. And it's really timely that we have the budget folks with us because we do have Jonathan Ciesla, if you could raise your hand, Jonathan, who has really been integral in the coordination of this, along with Wendy Fine, to be able to support us, thank you, in this process and making sure that we can keep on track with all of our data and not slip up as far as timeliness, adherence, and accountability. Again, if you remember, this is our data metric sort of compilation of surveys from customers, internal metrics and goal setting, and additionally, us being able to really talk about why we show up every day and how we can become better. This was our first year of metrics. And when I say that, We set the goals last year. I remember we calibrated ourselves. We kind of got into the groove of understanding how this could be helpful in the year prior. But 2022 was really about action for us, and it was us being able to hold ourselves accountable to the goals and standards that we came up with without having prior experience in this area of the traction process. So this is where we get to look back and see, how did we do? Did we set goals that were too easy? Did we set targets that were too difficult or unrealistic? And how do we actually look forward to 2023 and make sure that we have set ourselves up for success so that we can start to own some of this process and walk a little bit instead of being the toddler stage under the purview of TransPro. So their role has also adjusted with us. If you remember, we had this customer survey portion that came to you, and Aaron will go over that a little bit in his presentation. That's now being outsourced to a different company, which we will manage. So we're moving toward it. Just really quickly, in front of you, you see the performance management cadence. These are the metrics and the tactics. The arrow where it says we are here is where you are today. So we are to report to you on the end of the year for Q4. So you kind of think backwards a little bit. We always report a couple months in arrears after that data so that we have the opportunity to go over it ourselves and comb through the data before we present it to you. That way, we're assured that it is flawless when it comes to you, to the best of our ability, and that we also have honest conversations with each other from a management perspective. And when I say that, there's about 45 individuals that sit in this room and debate where we are with each metric and also how we can get better. So this is a really honest conversation about how we can get better and where we are. Again, these are I call them buckets, but they're success outcomes, and there are 4 of them, which are our main tenets of success. Customer experience, which involves our Net Promoter Score. Remember, that's kind of like our Yelp review is what I call it. How well do we do according to the customer? And then also the community value. That's where are we? Are we close to traffic generators, our proximity to employment resource networks? Are we in the right places? Are we keeping up with the times? That could be including our capital projects, that could be including our route planning, and those type of things to make sure that we're actually out in the community and people value us as a network provider and also mobility resource. We also have financial sustainability. That almost speaks for itself. How are we doing as far as performance management with finances? Are we in the black and not the red? How are we doing with drawdowns? Pretty much a lot of the things that I talked to you about a couple minutes ago with the quarterly report to make sure that we're staying on top of our year-end balances and our capital projects, making sure that they're funded and we're not ending up in a topsy-turvy situation, especially when it comes to major projects like the railcar reserve. You also have employee engagement, and this is an area where I think we're going to spend a little bit more time to be able to improve this. Now, again, I said that 2022 is a year of action, not that any of the other ones were not, but we have had a lot of changes internally, administrative procedures, retrainings, also recalibrations of our tactics and metrics. So this is a year where I think we have to get used to a different way of doing things. And some of our employee engagement, we're also starting to get feedback from folks that we may not have heard from in previous years. So whenever you have culture change going on in an organization, typically there is a little bit of a dip because the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right, so to speak. You hear from those that have an opinion, and that might not all be great, but they might not all be bad. So this is our opportunity to really hear from the employees, figure out how we can continue to get better. So our employee engagement is respectable, but I think there's a lot of room for improvement on that. And we are getting a lot of feedback, remember, through our employee engagement surveys, which are the internal surveys, as well as the external customer, which we actually survey 1,200 people every 3 months, which is pretty robust for a transit agency, which is on par with your retail out in the market. You'll have to tell me. I think I'm going through this one, and then you're taking on. Okay. So our organizational outcomes, again, those are those 4 buckets, and then you see our definitions with our expected improvements for 2022, and then our status. So if you look to the further right, you'll see how we did, and then what we actually completed in order to get to those baselines. So for example, your customer experience, we had 4 surveys that were completed. So we checked the box on that, we did the work, and then we actually had your community value surveys completed. and then we had our financial stability completed. And so this is just kind of our way of thinking, how did we actually do the work in order to get to the end product? And I'll have Aaron kind of go into a little bit of detail on this.
Thank you, Ms. Terry. Good morning, members of the board, Mayor Basiato, Mr. Chair. One of the things we wanted to point out, sorry, Aaron Bingaman, Managing Principal, Transpro. One of the things we want to point out with talking about the work done to collect the data is that why does it take time to change the culture of an organization? Well, number one, we got to figure out where we're going. Then number two, we got to build the ship. And then number three, we got to get in the ship and start rowing. And so part of the process has been to develop the cadence of communication amongst the team internally, where we're challenging each other, creating the cadence to be able to communicate with you and our public, and building the infrastructure to collect the information that allows us to have the data to make data-informed decisions to improve the organization and make these changes in these critical areas. So that's why it takes a couple of years. We're really excited for the transition that's beginning to happen, as we'll be starting to be more of a coach and mentor throughout the course of this year, and see RTA in future years really manage and start the reporting of their own. They're always going to be using third-party partners. Your team's always going to be using third-party partners to grab that information, make sure that we have valid, independent voices collecting it and sharing it with you. So in providing some of the analysis, feedback that we wanted to share at the end of the fourth quarter, the team actually overperformed against the goals defined in their scorecard. There is the ability to do that within this system. You can't go more than 3% above a goal point area, but in the area of customer experience, the team exceeded their goal of 35 points, exceeded the goal in community value of 31.2, and exceeded the goal in financial sustainability. A place and opportunity for growth that we see is in the employee engagement. As we advise other partners similarly as they build a performance management system and culture like this, one of the things, as you heard Ms. Terry talk about, is are we setting the right goals? Are we setting the right targets? So for our first year, we did our best informed guess at what we thought things would be. Maybe we set them a little low. Maybe we did achieve too high. So what you'll see in the team's planning and programming for 2023 is stretching themselves in terms of what those targets become. We didn't know what our Net Promoter Score was when we started this process. We didn't have a baseline. We had to establish that baseline and work against that. Same with customer satisfaction and community value. So the team has worked for its 2023 goals to right size and stretch themselves. I'm going to do you the courtesy of not reading all of these things. We'll point out that in the Net Promoter Score, the area where we saw the most significant growth was in the BRT program. Specifically, we see the feedback from the clean program, where the customers were telling us for the first 2 quarters of the year they wanted to see cleaner buses. The data is now telling us that's a strength to maintain, and you're going to hear the team start to talk about over the course of the next 23 about safety. Safety while riding all of the vehicles, not just the bus, and safety while waiting are 2 really key areas of focus for the team. Community value, you've already heard some of the communication strategies that will start to unfold for 23. I think the thing that is exciting and a compliment to this board is that our community does see value in RTA. Now, what does that mean, and how do we manifest that? How do we use that to continue to grow partnerships and demonstrate that value and folks leaning on us and seeing us as an economic development partner? I know RTA and the staff has the objective to be one of the first folks at the table, not one of the last folks at the table. So as we continue to demonstrate growth in that community value, will we see that opportunity for RTA to be viewed as a community partner long-term as one of those outcomes? Financial sustainability, you've met the team, and they've been very strong there. I think there's great clarity around that goal, and they made some adjustments for what the success outcome will be for 2023. You'll see from 22 to 23, we focused on engagement in 2022, trying to define that metric where our employees feel like their supervisors are invested in their success, that they understand how their role contributes to organizational success, and have struggled there. This has been our weakest performance area, but our employees are essential, critical to our success. The team has taken a focus in 23, which I think is really interesting and compelling. And I think you all will be recognized as leaders in the industry by tackling the vacancy fill rate as part of the objective. So we'll still attacking employee engagement in 23, but through retention. So will our people choose to stay? Are they satisfied? Are they willing to recommend this as a place to work? That's still a component of this, but the vacancy fill rate, making sure we're filling those vacant positions so that we can tackle other things like on-time performance and safety as part of the operational outcomes. So big adjustments. But congratulations to the team for building the infrastructure to communicate and report with integrity the progress that they are making. And thank you to the board for your focus on the policies and the resources necessary to be able to succeed in these areas. One of the other things I do want to compliment the staff on is doing the work. We know thousands of organizations that have strategic plans, they're sitting on shelves. This team has worked every month to report to each other with ownership, accountability about the work that we were doing. Nobody wants to stand in front of the room of 45 other peers and say, well, we didn't do what we said we were going to do last month or last quarter. And so that building that culture of ownership throughout the team is key. So one of the things we do facilitate at our quarterly performance review meetings with the team is ask the question, well, what are the 3 most important things over the next quarter that we want to make sure we absolutely accomplish in addition to the work plan? At the Q3 meeting, the team wanted to really focus on filling positions and streamlining the hiring timeline, complete their 2023 goal setting, and complete or close out all of the tactics. And the team went 3 for 3. There has been some progress made on the streamlining and the hiring process and definitely accomplished those bottom 2 outcomes. When we look at all of the tactics that the team said they were going to do, completed and closed out a third of all of them. Some of them are continuing activities that go into 23. But then there's also going to be some new tactics, and those work plans the team have developed now. And so it's the needle-moving activities that we know are going to have the greatest amount of impact on our outcomes. And so there's a quick look. And again, just the point I make here is your team actually is delivering the work that they said they would deliver to achieve the outcomes we desire. And we're also adapting to the data and doing different things. The CLEAN program was not in this work plan at the beginning of the year. But once we saw our customers telling us we needed to do something about that, they implemented the CLEAN program. I know Ms. Walker's team has done some things with the communication program, and seeing George's team in the Human Resources Department adapt and overcome with different approaches to vacancy and employee engagement also occurred throughout the year. Now, that being said, I've said a lot of nice things. There are some areas for growth and improvement that I did want to highlight. Number one, so while this team has done a really great job of establishing the infrastructure for reporting and the culture of community and ownership, we need to continue to work on building that ownership all the way throughout the organization. How do our frontline staff really understand how their work contributes to organizational success? So that's a challenge we want to see the leadership team here at RTA continue to grow and develop with others. We're going to be coaches and mentors, share best practices from around the country where we're seeing those things happen. We're going to make sure when we're looking at the scorecards and the goals and the targets that we're really stretching ourselves and challenging ourselves. Do we want to be best in class and leading the industry in customer experience? Do we want to be middle of the pack? Right now, we're middle of the pack. Okay, I think we're better than we thought we would be, and we've seen the team move the needle. But do we want to aspire to be better, and do we want to do that across the board in all of the outcomes? That's an area of questioning where we want to push ourselves. Obviously, see the room of leaders in traction continue to be engaged and challenge each other. Can we build a team of passionate warriors at RTA and folks that really strongly advocate for what they believe in and accomplishing that? And then last but not least, and this is a risk, this is a caution. So we're doing something new, we're doing something different. We're asking for information, we're taking surveys. You ask those questions, you got to do something with it. So while we started to do that, obviously, with the CLEAN program, now we want to start to do that with safety and training internally when we're talking to our employees and asking them for feedback. We need to do something with the information, otherwise you just create survey fatigue and empty promises. So challenge the team in that way to do that. And looking forward to, again, our transitioning a role and just supporting this team, that they will own it. It typically takes 2 or 3 years. By that 3rd year, you're going to see a whole lot less of me. I know you're going to miss me, Reverend Lucas. So sorry about the shoes, but we're going to be able to support you all and really enjoy your independence and success. So with 2023, Ms. Terry's going to talk about the direction and where we're going with the goals and outcomes for the next success.
Thank you, Aaron. We appreciate the honesty. I did ask Aaron to give a report of our positives and our negatives. I think that's part of the process to be able to understand how we can get better. So we appreciate that, and we'll take that to heart. As we move into 2023, wanted to be able to provide for you the same buckets with different success definitions and information systems. These are the information systems that will support getting to the goals that are associated with these 4 areas of success. So this way you can understand that the customer survey folds into the customer experience, the survey and data for the community value, the reporting for the sustainable financial future, and then also our HR data will be more robust in 2023 as far as employee engagement, so that we can really make good on some of those suggestions that our counterparts and our colleagues have made to us. It takes a lot of courage to be able to say what you feel in an environment that pays your bills. And so I want to make sure that I give appreciation to those employees who have given us their feedback, good, bad, or indifferent, so that we understand where our weaknesses are. And to be very transparent, I think some of our weaknesses reside in training opportunity. Although we have a lot of programs, it doesn't always reach every customer. And we also have to work on flexibility and transparency to understand that the ownership of every metric that we put out there filters all the way down into the ranks of the employees that you may never see in this meeting. So making sure that we have that communication happening from the top down and the bottom up is really important, and we'll be working to be able to improve that employee engagement and turn that 7 into a 10 or close as we can to it for 2023. That also translates into a bolstered employee morale. When you have that kind of confidence in your agency to be able to meet your needs, and that could even be in the areas of things like daycare, elder care, medical changeover. Remember, we went from Medical Mutual to Anthem. We've got a lot of changes going on. So being able to have folks understand how to read their paycheck, that came up in some of our discussions out of the districts, right? How do you understand some of the changes that may be coming down in your collective bargaining agreements? We're actually buttoning up, not that's plastic, but you know what I mean with wood. We're actually wrapping up our FOP negotiations, our Fraternal Order of Police with our transit police, our union for the ATU will follow. So pretty soon we'll be coming back to you with some new kind of policies and procedures for that. How do folks understand that? How do they internalize it so that they understand that they're supported by the upper management staff? So all of that rolls into it. Also, the vacancy rate is really important. As Aaron mentioned, that is our bread and butter. I can't tell you how many times we end up in a respectful fight, right, internally to talk about how are we going to be able to hit some of these metrics if we don't have the people. And if we don't have the people, we don't have the service. I'm looking at Nick Davison because he is our operational representative today, and that also spans the gamut between paratransit, big bus, and small bus, and rail. We've got to make sure that we have those vacancy rates attacked aggressively to be filled so that we don't end up in burnout, we don't end up in resentment from our employees for being overworked. Even though we pay a good dollar, it does not make up for the quality of life. So we've got to make sure that we actually are able to balance that a little bit better. And then being able to say we're coming out of the pandemic, it's a little bit of a tougher market to be able to think about folks that want to be able to work from home. And we are traditionally in-house, at work organization. So we've got to be able to think about the fairness aspect. At this current moment with our fleet, I know autonomy, is out there in concept. However, you can't drive a bus from home right now. So that being said, we've got to also understand the balance between allowing people to be able to work smartly and remotely when available and when possible, but also to be in here and working collaboratively face-to-face. There's nothing to be said for or overlooked for that kind of investment. It does help to have that physical presence when at all possible. So those are some of the things that we're going to be attacking in 2023. We talked about what are the most important things. These are the 3 that came out of those conversations. Again, this is just a snapshot for you to understand what our targets will be. Reducing the operator, mechanic, and transit police vacancies. For TP, I'll give you an example. We're budgeted for nearly 100 officers, and we are around 23 down. So what does that do to our presence on the street? What does that do for our ability to let our customers know that they have a safe ride? If something happens and there is an altercation on one of our revenue service vehicles or in one of our stations, what's our response time look like? What's our availability during those service hours? That's all important. And then also thinking about the diversity within these areas. We want to make sure that we see more females in the mechanic realm. We want to see more females on the operator realm. We also want to see a diversity and array of experiences and backgrounds to be able to even communicate with those individuals who may not have English as their first language. And then also thinking about the perception of personal security while waiting on a bus or a train versus the actual. That's a huge difference, right? That's where the CLEAN program is really important, as Aaron mentioned. Your perception versus your actual experience can be wildly different. And we've got to make sure that we can marry up that experience. If we do phenomenal on our traction data, however, on the surveys, it's not working out, it's going to show. So we've got to make sure that we can marry those up and consistently have a good, pleasant experience and make that a reality for our customers. That also translates into our ability to get dollars from the federal and state partners. If there is a council person, for example, or a state senator who gets letters constantly that says RTA is terrible, we will not get those federal dollars. And that's something that we have to understand, that is a very much intrinsically linked process. So we have to be able to talk about these things very seriously because they have financial impact later on down the road. I am happy to say that right now we're elevating a lot of those conversations, whether it's in DC or Columbus or other areas across the nation, to be able to have RTA tackle those and be community leaders in the area of workforce, in the area of employment engagement, in the area of safety. We actually have had, and I'll say this because it's a very proud moment, even the International of the Amalgamated Transit Union come to us. I was just on a call yesterday along with George Fields, Wendy Talley, and a couple other folks from our team, in addition to local union leadership, to be able to talk with the international leadership about mentoring programs. We are being solicited by the bigger agencies, MBTA in Boston, St. Louis, Kansas City. They're coming to our doors through the international asking for us to give them best practices for those type of programs. So those kind of things are very much at top of mind, and it's changing the narrative and how we can be able to, again, change that 7 into a 10 for employee engagement. All those things are linked. Also, we talked about employee sentiment. I went through a little bit of that, so I won't go too much more in detail, but that's that tracking accountability. If it doesn't belong to us all, it doesn't exist. And then just to close us out here, this is our reporting schedule, so you know what to expect in 2023. We like to be able to come to the board on a quarterly basis so you know what we're doing, and you also see the benefit in the usage of our public dollars. It's not always easy to say that we're hiring a consultant. We appreciate you, Aaron, but you're a consultant sometimes. That's not always public, love lingo. But we're able to say, hey, they're helping us through the process, and we're being able to walk. We're in the toddler stage. We were in the infant stage last year, and so now we're being able to absorb some of that. But we do need to make sure that we believe it. So that's what we're going to spend 2023 on, and getting that kind of bolstered so that we can say that we own the process as well. And I believe that takes us to the end, unless there are any questions for either myself or Aaron.
Any questions from the committee? The remainder of the board? Thank you, Ms. Birdsong. Very good stuff. I move to adjourn this committee at 9:41. Do I have a second?
Second, Welch.
All in favor? Aye. Committee is adjourned.
Reverend Lucas is going to preside over the audit committee. If we can pass the gavel down, please.
Filling in for Mayor Kumar today. Would you please read the rule?
All right, Reverend Lucas,
Present.
Mayor Kumar, Ms. Moss, Mr. Joyce, Ms. McCall,
Here.
Mayor Weiss. We have 3 committee members present.
Thank you very much. Today we will be hearing the internal audit quarterly report from our wonderful executive director who keeps up with everything for us. And we will now hear from you. Mr. Garofoli, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and good morning, Reverend Lucas, members of the Audit Committee, Board of Trustees, Executive Management Team, and guests. For the record, I'm Anthony Garofoli, Executive Director of Internal Audit. I'm here to present the results of the Internal Audit Department activities for the fourth quarter 2022. Please refer to the report that was distributed prior to the meeting. On February 22nd, 2023, we presented these activities in detail with the Audit Committee. Today's presentation is a summary. On pages 3 and 4 of the audit report is our plan that is approved by the committee and the board, and a plan that we execute throughout the entire year. On pages 5 through 10, please find the results of 12 audit projects completed during the fourth quarter. These projects were employee travel expense and requests, a post-delivery Buy America review of compressed natural gas vehicles for the Triscuit District, an advertising services contract, a revenue-generating ad services contract, a pre-award Buy America review of the 20 replacement paratransit vehicles, employee separation process, petty cash, COVID-19 hazard payments to employees, tool allowance and safety shoes and glasses reimbursement, Tower City Customer Service Center, an unannounced audit of inventory, our mobile ticketing program, use of the onboard validators on all of our vehicles out in the street, and finally, pre-printed fare media inventory and unannounced inventory at our revenue vaults. We met with management, received their feedback to our audit recommendations, and released the reports. We'll track the implementation of recommendations in our audit management system. On pages 11 through 14, please find the results of our continuous auditing program, where we develop audit scripts to interrogate system data, completing 100% audits for the transactions in those systems. During the quarter, we completed these scripts for fare collection, the purchasing card transactions, paratransit certification eligibility, nepotism, and a payroll script. We are in the process of sharing results with management and other stakeholders. On pages 15 through 23 are projects in various stages of completion. Please note we added updates to provide our readers transparency and informational status. This section includes projects where field work is complete, and we are waiting for management responses to release a report, which is our standard process, and projects where we are actively completing. I'll report out on these projects at the next committee meeting or board meeting. On pages 24 and 25, please find the details and results of special requests and emerging issues. We complete these projects in our role of Inspector General for the RTA. 3 projects, actually 4, employee nepotism overtime. There were 2 matters of incompatible employment and a bus operator revenue collection investigation. The results of these investigations were shared with appropriate stakeholders in accordance with our audit charter. We'll follow up on all outstanding recommendations. On page 26 is our results to work with external auditors. The state auditor is going to do our 2022 single audit. They were on site in November to do some preliminary work. And be advised, the Federal Transit Administration is conducting a triennial review to ensure compliance with regulations and implementation of our federal grant programs. They're doing a desk review, and there'll be a virtual or remote audit coming in May. The remainder of the report is informational. We continue to follow up on all outstanding audit recommendations to validate corrective actions are implemented. We participated in a number of steering committees and meetings to learn and share risk management programs. And we trained our staff during the fourth quarter. That training is identified in the report. That concludes the activities of the fourth quarter, but I'd like to add here that later this morning, in the board's agenda, is a resolution to approve the 2023 risk-based internal audit plan. In accordance with our professional standards, we solicited feedback from the board, senior management, and operating line directors. We aligned the plan with the authority's strategic plan and performance management success outcomes, as just described by Ms. Birdsong Terry. We shared the plan with the audit committee and senior management at the February 22, 2023 audit committee meeting. It is referred to the board for your approval. And I'll be happy to answer any questions at that time if there are any. Finally, as required by the Institute of Internal Auditors International Standards and Code of Ethics, we are required to have an external review. In other words, who audits the auditor? An independent consultant was hired to validate our self-assessment. The results are GCRTA internal audit generally conforms with international standards and codes of ethics. Generally conforms is the top rating and means the internal audit activity has a charter, policies, and processes that are judged to be in conformance with the standards. This concludes my report, and I'll take any questions at this time. Thank you.
All right, excellent report. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the board? Any comments?
Thank you.
All right. If not, may we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Valerie.
Second? All those in favor, aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. And we now will go into our Board of Trustees meeting. Is that right? Okay. It is my honor and responsibility to call to order the Board of Trustees meeting for Tuesday, February the 28th. Will we have the roll call?
All right. Mayor Biassiata,
Here.
Mr. Joyce, Mayor Kumar, President Lucas,
Present.
Ms. McCall. Present. Ms. Moss, Ms. Peo, Mayor Weiss, and Ms. Welch. Present. We have 5 board members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Do we have the certification?
Mr. President, I first advise that notice of this meeting has been posted more than 24 hours in advance of the meeting, that the usual notification has been given the news media and other interested persons, and that all requirements of the Ohio Revised Code and rules and bylaws of this board regarding notice of meeting have been complied with.
Thank you very much. All right, may we have the approval of the January 31st board meeting minutes? Have a motion?
Second.
Second?
Second, Valerie.
Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. We'll now have public comments on agenda items. First of all, anyone here wishes to speak? Right to the mic. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy last day of February to everyone here and everyone watching elsewhere. It's days like today where I have to take a second and reflect on how blessed I feel to stand here and be able to come here on my own will. Others utilize the paratransit authority.
Please forgive me for interrupting. State your name so we know who you are and so forth.
Sean Freeman, Chairman Lucas.
Good, thank you.
I'm here to represent those in the paratransit community. Last meeting, a woman by the name of Shalita came and spoke in front of you all to request certain updates to the paratransit website in order to make it more accessible for herself and others who utilize that system. Today, if I were to come here utilizing the transit system, it would have taken me about 45 minutes to an hour rather than about 25-minute ride that I had today, which on the bright side would have landed me here just in time for my public comment. Shalita requested to meet or respond from one of the board members in order to create the changes necessary for the paratransit website, and she has yet to hear back. Her requests include being able to use a keyboard for the website, considering some people in paratransit community don't use a mouse. She also requested for there to be a line for cancellations as well as for reservations. For each of you today who did not travel via public transit, could you imagine for each ride that you have today, for whatever destinations you go from here, you had to book it a week in advance and you had to call before you were making that transition? Of course, public transit can't be the same as driving a car in terms of independence, but there are certain things that can be done to make it easier for those most vulnerable in our community. Along with being called if there's discrepancy on a driver having a no-show. There have been times where people in our most vulnerable community have been left at the side of the street because they did not receive a no-show call and were instead left there for the next available transit or ever nice, kind Samaritan that was next to them on the road. Please respond to Shalita's email and get back to her. And I would humbly ask the board to set up a meeting with those that run the paratransit here, the drivers, as well as the paratransit users, to create the most efficient system for those that want to use this in our society. A man long ago once said, "What you do to our most vulnerable, you do unto me." Thank you.
All right. I believe, because I had a follow-up on that. Before you go listen to this answer, General Manager, answer that, please.
Sean, if I heard this, is that correct? Mr. Freeman, so if you can, we'll follow up with you. But I want to make sure that we're talking about the same woman. I believe it was a woman in the wheelchair who was in the front last time. Okay. So just to give you a little bit of information, and we'll go into a little bit later in the presentation today, but her comment definitely resounded with us. And we actually were going to provide a little bit of information on the website today. However, I asked our director of IT to be able to hold for another 30 days so that we can have an additional ADA review for that particular site. We actually do have our district director of paratransit, Nick Davidson, sitting here for Doc, who normally sits in that seat. So I would suggest at the end of this, perhaps you guys connect on the details. It sounds like in your description, you're asking for the scheduling platform review, which is a little different than the intranet review that we're doing that she mentioned at the last meeting. So we have some calibration, I think, to happen. But we definitely can reach out to her. I believe I was just looking through an email or so where our IT director was reaching out to a couple of concerned customers on the platform of paratransit to be able to make sure that we have ADA compliance with our internet and intranet that's going to be revamped or is being revamped, is in the beta testing right now. So long way of saying we will definitely take a look at it and she will have follow-up. We were just determining who that right person would be. And then if I can give a little bit of a teaser, we'll introduce a little bit later during the CAC review, but we have an additional team member who actually hails from the library, who I believe, if I'm not mistaken, has over 25 years of experience and has also extensively worked in ADA review, who will be working with our IT division. So we appreciate what you're saying, and we'll get back to you guys.
All right, anybody else?
Reverend Lucas? Reverend Lucas? Just on that point, I do want to point out something, because this came up when I was a caregiver for my late granny in terms of medical scheduling. It's an issue not just with paratransit, it's an issue in the medical industry that when you have to call for medical appointments, period, so whether you're using Medicaid, Medicare, you have to call a week in advance. And to cancel, it is a process that can be frustrating, whether you're the rider or the caregiver, but it's not just a paratransit issue. It is a medical industry issue. And so while I appreciate the advocacy here, I'd love to see the advocacy go further into the medical industry, because it's not just here. RTA is making great strides to improve that, even with the technology that we're trying to do with our riders. And I think we just approved our paratransit last board meeting, and the technology that we're using in that. And I think that once we get there, we'll probably lead in the industry. So I want to encourage the advocacy to go beyond just paratransit. Because if you look into the medical industry, it's worse. So just want to, I appreciate you coming here, and I appreciate her coming here last meeting as well. But it's beyond just this industry, so.
All right?
Play to the lowest common denominator. We all lose.
All right, anybody else? Anybody else have any public comment?
Good morning. In general, I don't come out at this time, but this particular situation calls for that. And I definitely agree with what Ms. McCall just mentioned. However, being a paratransit rider or somebody accompany a paratransit rider to take the ride, we experience a situation that your doctor appointments could be all of a sudden just canceled, either the previous night or today, this morning. So if you cannot have the ability to cancel your ride, it becomes a no-show on your record. And this really hurts the relationship between the riders and our service, because we also have the rule saying if you have been a no-show, first you will get a notification to remind you, you should do blah, blah, blah. But right now, if the situation is something you cannot control, how would you be able to do that? So once it goes over 3 times or whatever, eventually you will be suspended. And this is the reason why paratransit rider have been having this frustration. Because if doctors can cancel our appointment just within very short notice, but we cannot cancel our ride in order to save the resources, and we actually eventually will get suspended, that doesn't make everybody feel good. Believe me, even you guys, when you guys hear that, you guys will feel the same. And this is something I really agree that we should work on that scope more than just the paratransit service itself. The action has to go up to the medical healthcare industry. Thank you.
All right, anyone else?
Chris Barton, City of Cleveland. I'm the chair of Clevelanders for Public Transit. Just for the record, Shalita Dobbins is the vice chair of Clevelanders for Public Transit. This comment relates to your roll call agenda item. Mayor Biassiata, representing a city with relatively little public transit, please do me this favor. Email me at info@clefortransit.org with your main concern for your city. And I'll let you know how better bus service is part of that solution. Clevelanders for Public Transit fights for the restoration of service cut by this agency. Since 2000, this Board of Trustees has voted to cut more than 1/3 of service. Clevelanders for Public Transit asks you to stop managing decline and start building a better world. Stop cutting off lifelines and start reconnecting our community. That won't be accomplished with microtransit pilot projects. It won't be accomplished with oversold, underdelivered technological Band-Aids. We won't provide a ride out of poverty to residents of America's second poorest big city if we aren't bold. To make Cleveland once again the forest city and Cuyahoga County the freshwater capital of the world, to make our home resilient in the face of climate change, we must provide excellent public transit. To retain and attract a growing population of climate refugees, Northeast Ohio must invest in transit. Trustees, you must find additional funding for this agency.
All right, anybody else? Anybody else for public comment? What else? Anybody else? Public comment is here?
Reverend,
Yes,
this is Mayor Biassiata.
yes, sir.
I just, my interest on the board, sir, is not related just to my city. I'm a big advocate. When I went to Cleveland State University and worked downtown, I probably, in totality, 20 years on RTA. I have an office in Seven Hills, an office in Shaker Heights. For that kind of route, it's no longer feasible for me to be a rider. In addition, my uncle was an operator for RTA, and my dad rode RTA for 42 years. My interest in being this board is to provide the best mobility for everyone in the county. And it's important for jobs, the people, our handicapped. The younger gentleman talked about how we treat the least in the community is how we're judged. I agree with all that, and I want it to be as best as we can be, and we want ridership to increase. When I was a rider growing up in Parma, I could go to the corner. I didn't even need a schedule. The bus then was 79. Just go to the corner. Within 15, 20 minutes, a bus is there, and I'm downtown right at the doorstep of my work. That's no longer the case. A lot of the routes that I grew up on, such as 20B, don't even exist anymore. So when people on the phone and in the community talk about, well, you know, our offerings are way down, they are. That stinks. However, we up here are charged with meeting a budget, and there's tough decisions, and I wasn't a part of those decisions in the past. I am part of those decisions for the last year. I've liked what I've heard from Ms. Terry. I've liked what I've heard from Mayor Bibb, and I've liked what I've heard from County Executive Chris Ronan. So I don't think it's a lack of empathy. It's a complex problem that is going to require the partnership that you talk of with the federal, the state, and the county. And that's kind of where I hope I could provide some of my expertise and connections so that I could raise the concerns to these agencies that can improve the funding. And until that happens, it's all of our jobs up here to make sure that we most efficiently use the funds that we have. And if that's not happening, in your opinion, I'd like you to tell me where you think we're inefficiently using those funds so that we can reapply them. And I'm not an expert on transportation, but I do like to live in the real world, and I know that 2 years, as God gave us 2 years as opposed to one mouth. So if people have ideas where we're being inefficient, let's hear them. I'll have them vet by the appropriate professional, and we'll continue the dialogue. But that's my interest, to make it as best possible for everyone, from the least on the ladder to the tallest. So hopefully that suffices. I have 2 buses in my city. They don't run that frequent, but I really don't get too many complaints about that. So my interest here is much more global than just my one small city. Hopefully that gets us started. Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you for your response. All right, anybody else here? This kind of blocks me. Can't see you. All right, if not, let's go to the phone.
We do have 2 callers on the line.
All right,
Caller extension 0387. You are on the air. Please go ahead.
My name is Eric Stewart, and Mayor Biasi, I'm about to explain to you in clear detail exactly where there's been a breakdown in efficiency with funds. I'm going to point out something about the schools that were missed on my touch points about the suggested 15A, and I'm going to point out more directly about libraries that need to be addressed and how the number 15A suggested will help accommodate the mayor's literacy push through the better implementation of public transit. The number 15A, at its furthest eastern point, this is a suggestion that has been repeatedly put in front of you, should start at Pinecrest Shopping Center, which has approximately 61 businesses. The most common job in Cleveland, Metro Cleveland, is a retail job. This is a reference to your next gen program: hospital, school, and work. Retail, work. That bus, that hourly bus, would then run east at eastbound Harvard and either run through or directly past Tri-C East, where it shares a route with the number 15, that instead of being a 15-minute bus, could be a 20-minute bus, and the hourly 15A bus would accommodate the missing bus in that 4 buses an hour period. Then this bus, I'm pointing out libraries now, would either come within 3 blocks, the Lee Harvard Public Library at 177th, where it turns off.
30 seconds, sir.
A block of the Lee Harvard Public Library, where it turns off. From that point, it will cross Lee Road, pick up the 40, just like the 15 does. At some point, it's going to go down Barlett, heading, I said east, going west. And that's what I meant when I was saying that before, going west.
10 seconds, sir.
On Barlett, where it would be at 140th and Barlett and be within 3 blocks of the Mount Pleasant Library, 131st and Barlett, where it would be within 1 block, the East 131st Street Library. And this bus would share a route with the 48 and what should be re-put back in progress, the 48A bus. And then it goes through Shaker Square, touches the Harvey Rice Library.
Sir, you're over time.
Connect down on Quincy with
Thank you for your comments, sir. I'm afraid you're over time.
You can hear the Reverend clearly.
Caller extension 9716. Please go ahead.
I have no comments at this time.
Thank you. There are no other callers on the line right now.
That was the last caller, Reverend Lucas.
All right. Thank you very much. There was one sent to me from Reverend Pinckney, and she wanted it known that a operator is welcome to come to any board meeting without any retaliation at all. We don't operate that way. We'd be glad to have anyone who wants to come. So I've answered her publicly. All right. We have now from 6 to 12, or anybody have a committee reports? We have a number of people out today. Anybody have a committee report? Anybody? All right. If not, Mr. Peels.
All right. Good morning, President Reverend Lucas, Ms. Birdsong Terry, members of the board. It's my pleasure to introduce to you our February new hires and promotions. We'll start with our new hires.
Turn that back for me that way.
First, we have operators, a number of operators for February. Vladimir Grimmy, Tanisha Johnson, Leon Wells, Lawrence Edwards, Robin Hood, Charles Whitehead, Larry Greathouse, Thomas Stover, and Antoine Finley. We also have operators Caress Hines, Fonda Martin, and we have janitors Marcellus Porter, Jonathan Bruce, a paratransit reservations operator Taylor McClendon, Richard Burgers, a maintenance technician, Aaron Lewis, electronic equipment maintainer, Joseph Clark, community engagement specialist, and Chanel Steiner, supervisor of digital and external marketing. Last, for our new hires, we have Emily Bailey, executive assistant for operations, Paul Durzik, maintainer, Yadel Roman, transit police officer, Omar Rojos, laborer, and Jamie Inks, district business analyst. For our promotions, we have Claudio Dugala, electronic repair lead, Mitchell Crawford, II, electronic repair lead, Rotnika Phillips, dispatcher, Lloyd Edwards, dispatcher, Dion Cunningham, money handler, Michael Gomez, maintenance technician, Erica Weems, supervisor of cross-trained bus and rail, Stacy Menifee, assistant operator instructor, and Paul Hootie, signal technician. President Lucas, this concludes my report.
Well, congratulations. Give them all a hand.
Reverend Lucas, if I may, I just wanted to say it's a phenomenal diversity that you see within those slides. And we really are excited to be able to fill a lot of those positions. Some of those positions are newer titles that are newer to the authority to be able to tackle some of the issues that we discussed earlier in the presentations. But when I look across those slides and just seeing male, female, different nationalities and representation, it's a good feeling when we say that we're being able to really tap into the community resources that we have. So thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, thank you, Mr. Field. All right. Introduction of resolutions. Are you ready?
Yes, ready, sir.
Ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. 2023-8.
All right, authorizing contract number 2022-082A with Future Age Incorporated, DBA, provide a ride to provide contracted paratransit services in an amount not to exceed $17,044,485.35 for a period of 3 years, and in an amount not to exceed $6,243,059.71 and $6,474,762.80 for each of 2 option years, respectively, for a total 5-year contract not to exceed $29,762,307.86. General Fund, Paratransit, Department Budget.
Do we have a motion?
Move approval. Valerie?
Second.
All right, we have someone here from that company. I won't tell you stand so we can say hello. All right. All right, very good. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. 2023-9.
Authorizing contract number 2022-082B with GC Logistics of Mississippi, LLC, to provide contracted paratransit services in an amount not to exceed $11,106,075.91 for a period of 3 years, an amount not to exceed $3,912,322.56 and $4,016,054.09 for each of 2 option years, respectively, for a total 5-year contract not to exceed $19,034,452.56. General Fund, Paratransit, Department Budget.
We have a motion.
Move approval. Valerie?
Thank you. Anyone here from that company?
Reverend Lucas, we need a second.
I heard
Second,
it.
Welch.
Okay.
Welch. How are you doing, my friend? You want to say good evening, good afternoon, good morning?
Good night.
Would you step to the microphone, sir?
I'm Tom McDonald with GC Logistics. We appreciate the opportunity. This is our second contract with RTA, and so we're super excited to continue to engage with the community. And I just point out our general manager that's running, and Ms. Birdsong pointed this out at a meeting I was at a few weeks ago, but our GM that's running this operation here, oversees our entire operation here, was an operator at RTA for 7 years. And so to us, it's a testament to the people that you just all the new recruits we saw, but then more importantly, I think to all of you guys and the training and effort you put in to develop that talent. I think Walter Collins is a prime example of that. So excited to be here and look forward to the next several years engaging with the community. Thank you.
So that means when my term is over here, I can come over and get a job with you.
Absolutely, anytime.
Right.
Our community engagement specialist, for sure.
Thank you very much. All right, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. 2023-10.
Authorizing contract number 2022-082C with Senior Transportation Connection to provide contracted paratransit services in an amount not to exceed $5,400,370.89 for a period of 3 years and in an amount not to exceed $1,916,788.07 and $1,978,398.27 for each of 2 option years respectively, for a total 5-year contract amount not to exceed $9,295,557.23. General Fund, Paratransit Department Budget.
All right, is there a motion?
Move approval, Valerie.
Second?
Second Welch.
Welch? All right, I know they were with us last time. Anybody here from senior today? All right, won't you have a word? Come over. Good to see you again.
Reverend Lucas, board members, I just want to say on behalf of Senior Transportation, we appreciate the trust that you put in us over the many years that we've been with RTA to provide the service, the high-quality service that you provide with RTA and expect from us. So thank you for renewing our contract.
I made this comment to the committee, I make it again. I had some particular reservations concerning the senior buses, that you did not have a room for us except at the back of the bus, which of course is the roughest place. And your new buses all made a new accommodation for that. I appreciated that. So I'll say that again today. But we were very pleased with how you cooperated with taking care of those matters. All right, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Still don't have the bus with my name on it, but that's okay. It's coming, I know. All right, 2023-11.
Authorizing contract number 2022-120 with Warren Roofing and Insulating Company for Project 19.59 Shaker Shelter Roof Replacement in an amount not to exceed $102,000. RTA Capital Fund, Engineering and Project Development Department Budget.
The motion, please.
So moved. Welch.
All right, any discussion? Anybody here from Warren?
Believe we need a second.
I'm not hearing it.
Second, Valerie.
Nobody's saying anything.
All right, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. 2023-12.
All right, authorizing contract number 2023-015 with Trillium Transportation Fuels LLC, DBA Trillium CNG, to provide CNG operations and maintenance services for the authority's Hayden District CNG fueling station for a period of 5 years in an amount not to exceed $3,200,000. General Fund, Hayden District Budget.
Have a motion? Second?
Second Welch.
Welch, all right. Anyone here from Trillium? All right, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. 2023-13.
Approving revised list of positions designated to use purchasing cards.
All right, purchasing cards. Motion? Motion?
So move, Val.
Second? Second? Second, Terry. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you. 2023-14.
Amending Section 222.04, Community Advisory Committee of the Codified Rules and Regulations of the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority, and approving amended operations guidelines for the Community Advisory Committee.
Is there a motion?
Sure. Move approval, Valerie.
Second?
Second.
All right, AJ, you're here. You have anything to say?
I'd like to just say, first and foremost, give kudos to the leadership of India Birdsong, Terry and Natoya Walker Minor, Dr. Natoya Walker Minor, and AJ on leading this effort. As you know, we've been talking about revamping the CAC for a very long time. I also want to give A thank you to Jose Feliciano Jr. for his leadership of this over the years. And also a big thank you to all of the members of the CAC. We have some members emeritus that we have thanked. I think we have one member in particular who's been on for a long time. A lot of members who have served a long time. We've lost some members over the years. But the CAC is very, very important to GCRTA. I think the revamping and how we're going to have this moving forward actually opens up an opportunity to engage more of the public. As we talk about public engagement and we have people come before the board, I had mentioned this before, that we, the board members, used to pick our members. And by picking, we just be told, here's your 2 people that's representing you. This new process opens it up for members of the community to apply to be a CAC member now, which did not happen in the past. And so I think that the revamping of the code, the more engaging of the community, all lends to better customer service as we move forward. And so, again, I'm glad that we're at this process, and glad that it was one of the last great things I get to do before I roll off at some point. And just want to thank the team for their leadership. So I don't know if India and Latoya want to jump in there and make some comments.
I will for a quick moment. So thank you. We appreciate your support, Trustee McCall. And this is definitely a great mark to be making in the last few times of your, we'll say that, of your membership here. If I can punt really quickly to Natoya, there are a couple members that she's added to her team to piggyback on your comment about kind of customer experience. So.
Sure. Thank you for this opportunity. I also just want to thank Dr. McCall for her leadership, this last act of hers. I know from working with her for the last 20 years that the voice of the customer and the voice in elevating the community is central to her heart, even from her early days as a social worker. So today we are excited to have a restructured community advisory council, and I too thank Jose Feliciano and am excited about AJ Albert Johnson's leadership as we move forward. AJ is in the back, but I'm also excited to have 2 new employees, both of whom George introduced when he went over the employees who are in the room whose work will touch the voice of the customer. So I have Joseph Clark, stand up. Joseph Clark has joined us. He joined us last week. He is a community engagement specialist, a heart and passion for the community. He's worked at a number of organizations in this community where he worked specifically on the community and also on the corporate side. So he will help us as we also are very interested in driving up our commuter advantage. So I've shared with him his work will be in the community and also in the courtroom, that community and in the corporation boardrooms, that type of work. Thank you, Joe. And I also have Chanel Steiner, who brings to us a quarter century, as GM Burson Terry mentioned, of marketing through digital and storytelling. So between those 2, along with the other work that is occurring in our cluster, telling the story and elevating the voice of the customer is central to the work that we're doing, and telling it in a way that our customers can hear us, that we drive it up, and that our choice riders also hear us, so that we reach this community and continue to build a robust organization under the leadership of General Manager Burson Terry. Thank you.
Even though you were very eloquent in your introduction, let's hear from them. Come on up, Joe. Come on up. You too, come on up and say good morning to us.
And AJ too. AJ's back to trying to hide.
I called on him first. He heard my voice first. He sat right back down. Go right here.
Hello, my name is Chanel Steiner. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chanel Steiner. I have 25 years of experience, as Dr. Natoya said, in graphic design, web design, and digital and traditional marketing by way of the library. I worked for Lakewood Public Library for 10 years and Rocky River Public Library for 15 years. One of the things that I am truly passionate about is customer service and communicating all of the wonderful things that this organization does. I'm looking forward to really talking about the great things that GCRTA does, and I'm happy to be here, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Thank you for having me again. I'm Joseph Clark. I worked in the community, community work, probably about 10 years or more. I'm really excited about the opportunity to work for the community, hands-on, and also in the corporate setting as well to increase writing and also provide great customer service to our community in the process. Thank you.
All right.
Good morning, members of the board, Chairperson McCall, India Birdstone Terry. Thank you again for appointing me as the CAC representative. We let the market our new CAC application approval and adoption of this resolution and look forward to give you an update at the next committee meeting. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Martin. All right. All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Thank you very much. 2023-15.
Removing section 640.03, political activity, from the codified rules and regulations of the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority and amending personnel policy 100.03, political activity.
May I have a motion?
Move approval. Valerie?
Second? Second, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you. 2023-16.
All right. Amending Chapter 465, Financial Assistance of the Codified Rules and Regulations of the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority.
May I have a motion, please? So moved. Second?
Second. Valerie?
Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Thank you very much. 2023-16.
I believe we are on 17.
Yeah, 17.
Okay.
I just want to make sure you keep it in track over there.
Approving the 2023 Internal Audit Plan.
All right, we have a motion.
Move approval. Valerie?
Second?
Second Welch.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Thank you very much.
Reverend Lucas, I need to excuse myself at this time.
Surely.
Thank you.
Glad that you were here this long. Secretary, you are filling in today? Well, that's wonderful. We're glad to see you.
Good morning. My name is Kay Satula, Director of the Office of Management and Budget, and I have the pleasure of presenting the Secretary Treasurer update. So annual inflation rate in the U.S. has increased from 2.5% in January 2020 to a high of 9.1% in June 2022. Since June, the inflation rate has been falling. At the end of January 2023, inflation is down to 6.4% and is expected to fall the rest of the year. Federal Reserve rate raised interest rates in December 2022 to its highest level in 15 years to fight against inflation. The Federal Open Market Committee increased interest rates by another 0.5% to 4.43%. U.S. unemployment rate was 3.5% in December 2022, down from 3.7% in November. The Ohio and county unemployment is preliminary and not seasonally adjusted. The Ohio unemployment rate remained steady at 4.2% in December 2022. Cuyahoga County unemployment dropped to 3.5% in December. Looking at the 5 largest metropolitan statistical areas, these are not seasonally adjusted. For December 2022, unemployment rates are preliminary from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Cleveland is 3.5%, down from 4.2%. Toledo, 3.9%, up from 3.3%. Dayton, 3.5%, up from 3.1%. Cincinnati rose to 3.1%, and Columbus rose to 3.1%. January ridership was 37% above January 2022 levels. Compared to January 2022, ridership increased in all modes, and you'll see the January ridership on the right-hand side, and that's for January of all years. Passenger fares, January was 18.1% above January 2022. Passenger fares were 2023 were 39.6% lower than 2019, which was pre-pandemic. And on the right-hand side, you'll see January passenger fares in millions for each of those years. Sales tax, February 2023 receipts are from November 2022 activity because of the 3-month lag. February is 9.2% higher than February 2022, and year-to-date, 6.1% higher than 2022. Are there any questions?
Any questions to our presenter? If not, thank you very much. You did a wonderful job. Did I see Dr. Caber come in?
You did.
You see, you no longer have your position. Nick is taking over there, so you can go back out where you were.
You snooze, you lose. That's what happened.
I got to be very nice to him right now for other reasons.
You can make it to the conference. Good morning again. I will be relatively brief. I know that we've had a lengthy meeting. I just wanted to give you a quick update on what's been going on. Transit Employee Appreciation Day will be celebrated on March 24th with staff, so details to come on that. Also, we have had a lot of activity happening within the past 30 days. We've had RTA Goes Red for Women. February is Heart Health Month, in case you were not aware, so make sure that you take care of yourself and take care of others. Had a lot of great press on that one, and just a really feel-good way to start off the year. Also, we had a DEI in B, which is diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. It's a mouthful, but it's a really good reason to meet. And as you can see, we had a lot of leadership actively engaged in talking about pronouns and race and religion and all different kind of things as far as descriptors, so that we are accurately treating each other with respect and how to kind of go through that process. It was a great addition to our training, and we are definitely dedicated to that. We'll see more to come. Thanks so much to Felicia Brooks-Williams and the DEI team. Accelerate 2023, I had the opportunity to serve as a panel judge for the Quality of Life panel. This was through Cleveland Leads, or the Cleveland Leadership Center. It was held downtown at the Huntington Center. Cleveland Accelerate is a pitch competition. So it's really the average Joe, so to speak, coming on the stage and being able to sell their pitch as far as financial support for their program as far as how to make Cleveland better. So if you think about it, a Shark Tank on steroids is what it was, and it's really just a nice opportunity. This is my second year as a panel judge, and it's always great to see, and I'm always thinking, how can RTA work with that person? So it was great. Connect Works, as you know, we had a great ribbon cutting on February 16th at the Southgate Transit Center. We had an awesome time being able to celebrate the mobility pilot with Solon. Had a lot of great support with some of our fellow partners, county exec Chris Ronayne, the Solon mayor, Edward Krause. Senator Matt Dolan traveled to celebrate with us, as well as Maple Heights Mayor Annette Blackwell, County Councilwoman Meredith Turner, and then, of course, our internal superstars, Mary Beth Feek, our Director of Planning, multiple folks from our leadership administration, and then the Share Mobility CEO and Ryan McManus. We also had support from the Amalgamated Transit Union, led by Mr. Nix, who serves as the president, as in addition to his stewards for that particular area. We appreciate it. The next proposals will be due on March 30th for the second pilot, so tell a friend. Also, as you saw, there was a bus parked outside. These are our newly branded Metro Health sponsored line vehicles. We're really excited about this. Audit has been really helpful. Tony Garofoli and his team have been instrumental in really delivering the bus. I'm going to speed through this, you guys. I know that we were going to have a couple of touch points, but we're kind of running out on time. This has also been a marketing effort by Natoya and her group, along with Doc and his team in vehicle maintenance, to really be able to bring this to life. 20 buses delivered with 12 in service. That's the idea, that we can have all 20 pretty soon by the end of March, and these vehicles are beautiful. We even had a pet that tried to get on board this morning, so we appreciate that as well. Good marketing opportunity. I think Rashida caught it for the blog. We also wanted to make sure you knew about this. We had a really good testimony experience down in Columbus. So we had Natoya Walker-Minor and Michael Shipper, our deputies for external affairs and engineering and project management, respectively. They did a yeoman's job of really being able to get out there. Dickinson Wright, our advocacy group, which will come and give you guys an update later on in the summer or spring, supported us in this effort. It was our opportunity to really get out in front of some of the funding conversations that are happening, and you see basically the notes from our testifying. I believe you guys were up there almost an hour, if I'm not mistaken, which is huge. To be able to have that kind of exposure on a platform in front of legislators is amazing. So that tells you a lot. I think the state is looking toward Cleveland to kind of lead that conversation, and they did a great job. Track competitive grants. This is also something that we wanted to bring to you on the heels of that Metro Health Line slide that we had. The Ohio Transportation Advisory Council grants. This is a listing of that, so you understand where we are in the process. So we drafted a recommendation to fund $12 million for the 25 Connects program that goes through 2025. And you can also read the additional details here. I won't go through too much, but we talk about light rail track replacement program and also your public comment period. So we expect the final recommendation and vote at the end of March. So I wanted to keep you apprised to that process as well. Ohio Loves Transit, that was February 7th. We also had a great showing of internal support to be able to go through, and had a lot of meetings with senators to be able to kind of talk through our funding and projects that we have on the docket. So thank you very much to the team that went out for that. GM update is going digital. This is also part of our internal communications updates, and so you'll see QR codes and that kind of thing to be able to reduce our paper. And then we have our annual report. Hopefully this will play and gives you a teaser. And then I believe that concludes my report.
All right, question.
2022 was another great year for GCRTA, and we're excited to share our wins with you. It's about a minute long, and then I am finished. To increase ridership, we engaged our community like never before. Here are some of the highlights.
We safely connected over 19 million riders across greater Cleveland to work, to school, to healthcare, and everywhere in between.
The Community Immunity Bus provided over 1,500 COVID-19 vaccinations to help keep our neighbors safe.
Throughout the year, we added 349 invaluable members to our ever-expanding team.
In 2022, 36 new buses rolled onto the streets of Greater Cleveland.
And we're not slowing down anytime soon. Keep reading to see how we connect Greater Cleveland and to learn our plans for continuing to thrive in 2023.
Well, that was an excellent report. Give her a hand on that. That's a lot of work, and all the staff. Thank you very much. We're going to move right into, unless anyone had old or new business, we'll go right into public comments. Public comment, anyone here? Anyone here with public comment?
Chris Martin, City of Cleveland. I am the chair of Clevelanders for Public Transit. Thank you all who attended the Clevelanders for Public Transit recent rally and event. Trustees Welch, Weiss-Peo, and of course, Board President Lucas, and Deputy General Managers Natoya Walker-Minor and Mike Shipper, and perhaps other civilian RTA employees I didn't notice. I hope hashtag Ohio Loves Transit Week was successful for you, even though you only bothered to ask for status quo funding from the state. Unlike this agency, Clevelanders for Public Transit recognizes the need for additional state funding. But Clevelanders for Public Transit also recognizes the fact that Ohio is unconstitutionally governed by a radical right-wing supermajority, which has for years openly displayed its contempt for cities like Cleveland and urban counties like Cuyahoga more generally. Clevelanders for Public Transit does not believe that begging for crumbs from a radically anti-transit state government is a sustainable funding solution, nor is counting on changing minds at the federal government. Congress has, for decades, decided that it won't pay for transit operating costs. Pinning a wish on that changing is negligent public service. The state of Ohio is hostile to us. The federal government is indifferent. We must fund ourselves. Trustees, you must find additional funding for this agency.
Right, anybody else? Anybody else here?
Good morning again. Number one, it goes to what we talked about a little bit earlier about our workforce issue. The reason we don't have enough people working in the field, I think that has to tie to our training as well. Because for the people who will come to apply for the job, willing to be trained, we really have to give them the thorough training to make sure that they will be joining the existing workforce. Yes, we want to avoid burnout, all those things. But to increase the number of the people to work, we definitely have to also ensure the quality of the work they provide will be satisfaction to our standards, themselves, and the riders. Secondly, with the paratransit issue, there are more to it. Even for the paratransit, its own website for paratransit rider to access, you also have the situation with the whole website, the overall whole website. This even goes to beyond GCRTA. All the government websites, city website, county website, state website, none of them are actually ADA accessible. And also think about the people not in the long-term disabilities. Think about the people with just part-time disabilities. They are not qualified immediately to be paratransit riders, for example. They have to access the regular website of GCRTAs. Would that be accessible to them? Not really. The third part is that we recognize the issue with the funding. However, we cannot print our own money. So till that time, we really have to work with these politics. However, there are tactics I think GCRTA can utilize with a public's effort, the public voices. So I wish the CAC and our new program like Transit Ambassador, all these programs will not only be the tools to help our service to be improved, I hope they will be also the new tools for us to tackle our state and the federal funding issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Anybody else here? All right, no one else here?
Reverend Lucas, if I may. It's me. Thanks. I just wanted to point out really quickly, you know, one of the things that is so evident is that transit is such a large ecosystem. And so I'm just really grateful for, one, the leadership at RTA that is really being mindful about the level of engagement with community members and writers, because I mean, it's just been unprecedented unprecedented the way that leadership has stepped in, and with the expansion of team members and really meeting people where they are. I mean, I think we haven't seen this in a very long time, and so I'm really grateful for that. But I also want to point out Cleveland Rivers for Public Transit and the amazing work that they continue to do over the years between leadership transitions and being engaged with the public in the ways that they are engaged with them. And I'm just hoping in the future, which I know will happen, but with the expansion of the team, with all the work that we're doing with the customer experience survey, that there's some synergy between the organization and Cleveland Rivers for Public Transit. It was amazing to see so many people who were active in taking the bus that were not taking the bus before. But I agree that we have to expand that advocacy, and people have to be taking the bus beyond just that week. And I just wanted to commend you all for the work that you have been doing, and hoping that there's some synergy between our organization and the work that you are doing to make sure that we are addressing the needs even further than we already are. So thank you so much to everybody.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, anybody on the phone?
We have one caller.
All right.
Caller extension 0387. You're back on the air.
So this is Eric Stewart. I'm going to complete what I was saying in reference to the suggested number 15A bus. And this applies to the efficiency, as you were claiming, Next Gen increased efficiency of school, hospital, and work. The suggested 15A comes within close proximity, 3 blocks, no less, no more, of the Lee Harvard Public Library, Mount Pleasant Public Library, the East 131st Street Library, the Harvey Rice Library, and the Woodland Library, which will be reopening pretty soon at 55th and Quincy. This bus also, and I left this out on the touch points before, and I'm going to send it to the Board of Trustees again this week. This bus also runs the distance of Quincy Avenue, where it passes the Quincy Red Line Station. It comes within 1 block of Bolton Elementary. It passes Benish Elementary, East Tech at 55th and Quincy. It comes within 3 blocks of Dyke, and it comes within 3 blocks of George Washington Carver Elementary School. This bus will increase the efficiency without raising the budget of the RTA if you would take a serious good look at it. If you call this number, 6219500, which is the customer service line for RTA, the customer survey that you're referencing repeatedly in this meeting has not worked for no less than 2 months and 1 week. And that is a long time to be offering a service to the public when you call this number, and then when you finish the phone conversation with your customer service rep, you just get disconnected because the survey doesn't work.
30 seconds, sir.
I also tell you this. I've been trying to reach Rivera from the customer service department for 7 years, over 5 phone calls in 7 years. I've never heard back from him. How is that engaging the public? Explain that to me. And this Sharifa person who was here last month, if this is the first time that you guys referenced her comment from last
10
month,
seconds, sir.
that tells you something about your engagement, too. You should have engaged her long before now. She was here last month talking about fair transit.
All right. I do want to make 2 comments. One is each time you hear from a good brother where he has suggestions of route, I turn this over to Joel Froelich. It's not we just hear and we don't pay any attention to see if this would be a good addition to the route. So we do follow up with that. I personally call that number, and I've been able to connect. So only thing I can say is try again, because I know I called it and connect. I've called all of the portions of that number. I've called the dispatch. I've called for connecting. I've called if I've had to cancel a ride, and I've been able to connect all the way down. Okay, I appreciate his comment. Anything else? Anybody else here today that wants to have anything to say? We're just glad to see you. All right. Public comments are over. Web form. Anything on the web form, Ms. Teresa?
No comments on the web form.
All right. The next board meeting, the annual meeting, March 21st. The boardroom here at this very spot. If you want to join us, click on. The public is welcome to attend in person. And it is my privilege to call for adjournment with this one note, that since we have seen each other last, I've had a birthday, and I'm very proud that the Lord has let me live 32 years, no, 42 years, no, 52 years, no, 62 years, no, 72 years, no, but 82 years, and I'm just proud of that. We have a motion to adjourn.
Happy birthday. Motion to adjourn.
Happy birthday, second motion.
Second, all right, that's never debatable. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no.